Hello there. Now, unless you've been following along very closely, you might not have realized that about 2.5 months ago, I just got sucker punched so fucking hard by Pinterest and have fallen deep down into the inescapable well that is the klance rabbit hole. Now, a few problems with this. Voltron has just been pretty much the thing that I've been thinking about like 24/7 for the past 2.5 months. Which wouldn't be that much of a problem given my track record, except I've never actually seen the show. Thank you to the wonderful Netflix for providing the show for us and then removing it from their platform so that no one is allowed to watch it. However, after all of my time studying, if you will, I basically know everything there is to know about Voltron at this point. Every single piece of fan art that exists on Pinterest, I've seen it, all right? Mostly the klance fan art. But look, that's just what they sent me. However, there is just so much to this show beyond whatever the fuck those two little gay boys are doing or not doing, because they're not even canon. I have just now found out. Incredibly rude, I might add. However, at this point, I pretty much could have like a master's degree in the Voltron Legendary Defenders fandom universe. So what better way is there to spend the limited time that I have left on this planet than by explaining all of the characters from a show that I've never seen before to you, someone who probably has seen the show before. Regardless, I just want to yap about it. Now, just to start things off, this may or may not contain spoilers for the show. I couldn't tell you if there's spoilers or not because I haven't seen it. Netflix has made sure that I am not able to see it. So this is pretty much just my best guess of things that are going on from the information that I've gathered. There's probably just like a huge amount of character misrepresentation that's going to be going on here. I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. However, be nice to me. In my research, I have drawn from many sources to collect all of this information. First and foremost, we got fan art. I just look at fan art for Voltron every single day, all day. It is 90% of my screen time at this point. Going off that, we have memes. No explanation needed for that. This is the internet after all. Also, some ye old Tumblr posts. Now, this show ran from 2017 to 2019 and had 8 seasons. That is an insane pace to keep up, which does make sense as to why the fandom went so crazy and also the show kind of burned out at the end. However, Tumblr still does in fact act as a wonderful historical archive of the thoughts and feelings of the time. Next up, animatics. I have not seen that many animatics. However, the ones I do are pretty great. They are all from like 7 years ago and do just kind of, spoil the show a little bit. But again, that's my bad. The show's been out for like 8 years and I haven't watched it. Now, there is a little bit of a resurgence coming back. I'm seeing new Voltron content and it's wonderful. I may or may not have something to add to that. We'll see how much free time I have this weekend. But I got a good idea going. It's very gay. Now, last and certainly not least, we have fan fiction. Oh boy, have I fallen back down the fanfiction rabbit hole. I've been reading a lot of fanfiction, y'all. However, it's good. I read all of Dirty Laundry. First of all, I didn't even fucking know that Dirty Laundry was about klance, right? I have heard about Dirty Laundry for years. Absolutely no connection was made between the two. However, I read all that shit in a weekend. It was incredible. I loved it. Now, fanfictions are a little tricky because they do sometimes just change people's personality traits entirely to fit their story. However, I can usually get like the general vibe of what's going on from these fan fictions, from these just, works of art. Now, pretty much the first question that anyone has going into this, what the fuck is Voltron? Now, Voltron, as a premise, is pretty much the same idea as Power Rangers or Pacific Rim, where you got these people in a giant mech suit, all of the different parts attached together, and then they go off and, fight aliens. Sick. As I mentioned, all of these limbs here are detachable. Each one is piloted by a different paladin, and they just go off and, fight space crime. I don't fucking know. Now, each of these little units we have going on here, they're called lions. Now, each lion here is basically its own little sentient being that can choose the wielder. I'm not sure if that's an AI system or if there's actual lions involved. I don't know. There is fan art for that. I'm thinking not actual lions, but there is something going on where each limb can choose its wielder, sort of like a Mjolnir situation. And pretty much it's just a bunch of people from Earth going out to save the galaxy, do good. Who determines what the good is? I don't know, but it's probably not the Earth because we have a bad track record. Now, one last thing that I would like to point out is that Voltron here is an active military. Now, I do understand that this is intended to be a show for children, and you probably shouldn't read that deeply into it. However, there is just one glaring problem that I thought someone should at least point out, and that thing would be the optional protocol to the Convention on the Rights of the Child on the Involvement of Children in Armed Conflict, or OPAC for short. Basically, child soldiers. Now, the things outlined by OPAC are 1. Prohibits the conscription into the military of children under the age of 18. 2. Ensures that military recruits are no younger than 16. And 3. Prevents recruits aged 16 or 17 from taking a direct part in hostilities. Now, of the 5 main paladins we have in Voltron, Shiro at the beginning is about 25 years old. Keith is 18 years old. The other 3 are children. Lance is 17, Hunk is 17, Pidge is 15. Now, not only have they been recruited and trained as child soldiers, they are actively being put in combat situations out in space. Look, I don't know how border disputes work out there, but that's still a war crime. Again, Pidge is 15. She shouldn't even be there. But hey, you know, what's 1 to 3 child soldiers when you really think of the big picture? Now, as for the paladins themselves, you know how sometimes you can just like look at a show and come to the realization that like the writers, the creators, the fans, they all have a favorite? That's Keith, baby. Now, to basically sum up Keith's personality, I would have to go with emo, mullet, lone wolf, edgelord, knife, catboy. That's kind of a lot. Let me break that down for you. So, emo mullet, a little self-explanatory. He's emo looking and he's got a mullet. Keith here has a little bit of a difficult personality, let's say. Definitely gets along the least with the rest of the Voltron crew, pretty much anyone at any point. And he's got that lone dog mentality. Edgelord kind of feeds into both lone wolf and emo personality traits. Knife. You know how there's always just that one guy that like has a knife for no reason and that's most of their personality? That's him. Now, last up, the catboy thing. Look, we've all been on the internet. We all know that at some point, people are going to start putting anthropomorphic animal traits onto people, and it's just how the cookie crumbles. However, the reason I do want to bring this up, from all the fan art I've seen, there is, let's say, a startling amount of consistency between all of the designs that we have going on with sweet little Keith here. Makes me think that there is some sort of validity to this idea. Now, going back to edgelord emo, Keith over here definitely has some abandonment issues. His mummy, dear sweet mama, she abandoned him, whether intentionally or not. She fucking drop kicked him out of her life. His dad also abandoned him because he's dead. Now, my man Keith here also has a pet space wolf. Think direwolf size, but a glowing alien. Now, at some point during the show, Keith does go undercover or is brainwashed or commits some sort of inside job coup against the Galran Empire. Still a little bit unsure on what like the exact circumstances are on that. Your boy switches sides. It's pretty traumatic for everyone. Now, from what I can gather, there is like a time change aspect to this whole thing. Not in like a time machine sort of way, more of in like an Ender's Game situation where the rest of the team is in space, possibly moving at light speed, and Keith here is on like a stationary planet, so he ages faster than the rest of them. Now, he's gone for a while and comes back like 2 years older, where I think everyone else has only aged like a few months. So anyway, he gets another little bit of puberty change. Oh yeah! He's also secretly Galran. Remember the people who I mentioned earlier that he goes undercover as? He fucking like hates them. They're like the big bad enemy of the show. Turns out he's half Galran. Back to the turmoil. Now, once again, as I mentioned, he is everyone's favorite. Why? Because he is gay. Now, canonically, I don't think they ever state what his specific sexuality is. However, everyone has agreed that this man is in fact gay. If you disagree with that, I think you might be run out of town.
The Fitness Gram Pacer test is a multi-stage aerobic capacity test.
My man Shiro here is just the team dad. Also, being like the oldest one there and the only actual adult, very much takes on the daddy vibes.
Oh my God!
Now, poor sweet Shiro here just has the worst time. Now, at multiple points throughout the 8 seasons of this show, Shiro is just kidnapped and also tortured and also killed and also cloned, perhaps. All 3 of these, like, definitely happened. The kill, don't worry about that. He's still alive. But the clone thing, I can't figure out if that's an actual plot point or if that's just like a fan theory based on like his eye shape changing slightly and maybe him starting to act a little bit different. But the man's got it rough. As you can probably guess by all of the previously listed traumatic life events, Shiro here just really needs some peace. He has the absolute worst time. He has been through the fucking ringer. And he needs a break. He needs a vacation. I didn't even mention that his arm gets cut off. That didn't even make the list. Give the man a Xanax. Pretty much due to all of the stressful events that he has to put up with in his life, and also being the wrangler of 3 child soldiers, he has a bit of premature graying. Now, I think there are like flashbacks and time jumps in the show. Every single time he has a different amount of white hair growing from his head. Now, I didn't do any like intentional research for this besides, you know, finding out their ages and pictures. I just found out that his first name is Takashi. I thought it was Shiro. I thought his legal name was Shiro Shirogane. Never once did it occur to me that Shiro might be a nickname. What can I say? My critical thinking skills are fading away by the second. Now, speaking of losing critical thinking skills, Shiro and Keith here are often described as brothers. I took that to mean that they were like physical blood relatives. Ignoring the fact that they have completely separate last names never occurred to me. But based off of the amount of Keith Shiro fan art that I've seen in the past week of them smooching, I'm really hoping that they're not brothers. You feel? My girl, Pidge Holt. Legal name, Katie Page Holt. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Pidge is way better. Those other names fucking suck. As most of my feed has just been klance, I don't get to see that much of Pidge. However, I do know that she is in fact the best character. While in the show, she is definitely a girl. Based on all of like the fan fiction and fan art that I've seen, people have adopted the idea of her being non-binary. I love that. I think y'all are great. I would definitely trust the professional gays who've seen this show and recognize patterns within these characters to identify this more than I would, you know, the executives at DreamWorks and Netflix circa 2017. However, for just the sake of ease, I am going to be referring to Pidge as she. However, go off, King. I love you. The vibes we get from Pidge are just chaotic hacker gremlin. In her room, in the dark, shrimp position, curled up over a computer. That's the sort of vibes that she gives off. Pidge here is one of the few, if not the only character that I haven't seen really like shipped with anyone else in a show that is riddled with shipping. Everyone is. But Pidge here has somehow avoided that. Truly, could not be less interested. Also might be the fact that she is in fact 15 years old. Good call by all of you on that one. She's just a teeny tiny little guy. Oh, she's small. It's because she's a child. But again, is quite tiny compared to the rest of the Voltron team. Now, I have stated that Pidge is in fact the best character. Not to seem like a complete egotistical jackass, but like, that's me. Like, right? Like, all of this right here, like, we're the same person. You see that, right? Truly, the only difference that I can see is that I'm almost twice her age and at least like 1.5 Pidges tall. Hunk here, oh, is just so wonderful. He's so precious. People beef about the other characters. I had not seen a single goddamn word against this man. Everyone loves him. Not only that, but with all the shit they're put through, with all of Keith's emotional mood swings they have to deal with, Hunk here is really just like the glue keeping them all together. Without Hunk, the Voltron team would just be like a Boston Dynamics robot that falls apart on impact. Just based on the fact that I have not seen more fan art and love for Hunk, he's just so highly underappreciated by everyone. I think he's great. In almost any iteration I've seen of fan fiction, Hunk here always ends up cooking for everyone. I don't know if this is like an actual plot point in the show or if it's something that everyone just adopted, but he's pretty much become like everyone's personal chef and mom, making them late night mac and cheese. Now, last for our main group of paladins, we have just the absolute shit show that is Lance McLean. Lance here just has the vibe of like the comic relief character that like deep down has a really like deep personality, but you know, won't let it show because he just wants love and acceptance from everyone else. Think Sokka. Everything about him to me screams Sokka. He is just one of those people that will fucking flirt with anything. If you see a new person walk up, he's gonna razzle dazzle them. Everyone in the world, with the exception of the actual show, has come to the same conclusion that he is in fact bisexual. However, when you integrate it into the show, he's still just a disaster of a person. He just needs to get his shit together. Nothing in this man's life is going right, but he takes it in stride by flirting with all of them. Lance here, also a family man. He comes from a big old family on Earth. He's got a lot of siblings, got a lot of nieces and nephews, and he's in space and he's lonely. He needs someone to act as his family, and that much needed family comes in the form of his Voltron teammates. Mostly Keith. They're the klance. You see where I'm going with this? They're so gay. They're very much in love with each other. Don't fight me on this one. I know what I'm talking about. Now, something I'm still a little unsure about is whether or not Lance is secretly Altian, one of the like alien species that I believe they're allies with. I think that's a little addition they made in season 8. People notoriously do not like that season. However, he does start to get some little like blue eyeshadow things going on here, denoting the Altian people. I don't know if he became like a citizen or what. I just know that it didn't go over well with people. Also going off that, sweet boy Lance here was at some point legally dead. They killed him. They put him in a tank like Luke Skywalker and brought him back. But this child was in fact dead thanks to the service of the military. Oh yeah, I didn't bring this up earlier, but they got a lot of great voice actors for this show. Like Keith is the wonderful, incredible Stephen Yoon. I love Stephen. But Lance here is in fact voiced by Jeremy Shada. Like, I know he's voiced by Jeremy. I know what Jeremy sounds like. I can hear it in my head, but every single time I look at him, I just expect Jack Tessina's voice to come out. I don't watch that many clips from the show, but every single time I do, it's like walking into a brick wall. Jeremy, I think you're great. However, my brain can't comprehend it. That's something I gotta work on. By far the most beautiful person you've ever seen in your life, Princess Allura. She is the princess of the Altian people, non-earthling, humanoid type people in space that they're allies with. I think they're also in battle against the Galran Empire. One thing I would like to point out is your girl here, she's British. I promise I'm never gonna do that again. Who am I kidding? I'm lying. I'm definitely gonna do that again. Anyway, space colonizers, am I right? While I don't get to see that much of Allura's personality, I do know that no matter what, she is 100% smarter than all of the paladins combined. They're all a bunch of dummies, and she is a royal, which means she like most definitely has critical thinking skills, you know? She's been in military strategy meetings since she could walk. There's no fucking way that any of those himbos are smarter than her. And look, Allura just gets like such a fucking bad rap by people, mostly because of, you know, 2017 internalized misogyny. And a lot of people view her as the canonical reason why Klance did not happen. Look, that's not her fault. She's not even real. If anything, it's the executives' fault at DreamWorks and Netflix, all right? They made the calls. Another reason why we trust the fans much more than the industry itself. Everyone just agrees that she's like a hardcore lesbian, at least like bisexual or pansexual, but everyone is like, she is gay. She's gay. What better way to fight the establishment than to take like the sidelined love interest and just make her gay? Coran here, another Altian. I believe he is like, I don't want to say the handler for Allura, because that sounds a little creepy. You know, her butler, guide. Like, what's a good way to put this? Escort? No, that's not right. Chaperone. Let's say chaperone. He is basically, you know, sent everywhere with Allura because, again, she's probably also a child. Basically to, you know, safeguard the interests of the Altian people. Now, that being said, Coran here is just turned into Space Child Wrangler. He's basically Alfred, but instead of having 8 little bat brats to look after, he's got like 6 little space rats to look after. Look, I'm sure he's like high ranking within the Altian government. Whatever he's getting paid, it's not enough. You can tell this because he has the mustache of a very uptight, frazzled man who just wants some whiskey and like wears a little nightcap to go to sleep, you know? That's the vibe I'm getting from him. That being said, I truly do believe that he secretly has like a chaotic undertone to him. Back in his youth, maybe he was one of the ruffian troublemakers, but now he's settled down into the corporate life that consumes us all. But I think he's still got the fire in him, you know? He's got that dog in him. As I mentioned, with all of the shipping going on, he may or may not be in love with the king, that king being Allura's dad. Why not at this point? What else is there to do? I dig it. Oh my god, the main event. Coming in hot, we have Lotor. Lotor here, what isn't he? Lotor here is like one of the main villains of the show. I'm not sure whether he is like purely villainous, if he's got more of like an anti-hero vibe, or if he does turn around and have like a Zuko-esque redemption arc, but he's definitely stirring up some shit, you know? I do believe that he is in fact the prince of the Galran Empire. Unsure if he's also like the leader of their military, but he's definitely in the military. Everyone's in the military. How old is this man? Once again, going back to Avatar, he really gives off the vibes of like an Azula child prodigy, you know, slightly sociopathic, definitely overpowered, definitely dealing with some unresolved mental issues. Someone that, you know, definitely could benefit from a hug and also a lot of therapy. He does just give off the energy of like a tricky little rat bastard. You never know what he's gonna do. Is he with them or is he against them? I don't know. I honestly could not tell you. I don't know if people just like him because he's the villain or if he actually does have a good side to him. He's definitely got like the Loki energy. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just what it is. Lastly, something that quite frankly we're all thinking that I would like to point out, the man is unreasonably hot. Why'd they make him look like that? Is he a child? Given the clarification that he is in fact an adult, he's stupid hot, right? Look, we're all thinking it. I'm just the one saying it, all right? Next up, we got Matt Holt. Steve-O! Matt here is in fact Pidge's brother and not in fact a clone of her. I've been duped by the cloning before. However, the pictures that I have seen of Matt, I did just think they were Pidge, which did add to a little bit of the gender confusion going on my part. However, Pidge and Matt are in fact 2 separate people. Matt and Shiro are like childhood friends from their garrison days, and he comes back at some point and just fucking like vibes with the whole team. I don't know what he's doing there, but he's fun. He has that like tricky rat bastard energy that Lotor has, but in a fun way. So I'm gonna say cheeky little shit stirrer instead. I feel like he just comes in and like fucks up everyone's plans and then like backflips out of there, you know? The man is in fact just the memer, being like the young 20-something. It's his job to teach these children the ways of internet culture. They don't have access to it. They're in the military. Also, I just want to point out, the man's been through one hell of a glow up. My God, you look at those baby photos, you look at him now. Ooh! The man goes through a secondary puberty that the rest of us can only dream of.
What you say? That you only meant well.
Now, last and certainly not least, we have sweet, sweet, sweet Adam. I don't know what his last name is, but I love him. Now, there are only a few things that I know about poor Adam here. First off is that he is in fact super gay. He is, I believe, canonically engaged to Shiro. You know how I said there was a lot of shipping? They still ship Shiro with anyone regardless, but like Adam here is in fact engaged to him. I kind of refuse to believe that because once again, 2017 kids show. However, the one shred of hope that I do have that makes me think it is in fact real is that he's super, super dead. My poor sweet boy. Literally, like the first animatic I watched for Voltron, it literally just had Shiro looking at Adam's grave. Oh, and I was like, oh, there he goes. I don't know if I mentioned this. At one point, Shiro like fakes his own death. I think he also goes undercover, but no one knows that. And poor sweet Adam here, definitely alive, definitely in love, does have to mourn Shiro's death. And then he actually dies himself, and Shiro's the one left alive. Ah! All in all, rest in peace, King. You didn't deserve this. Now look, I do know that I just threw a large amount of information at you, some of which might have been very confusing. However, it's what my brain worked out. In a very poor attempt to try to straighten things out for people, I did make this web of like character interactions and placements and possible relationships in an attempt to clarify things. I think I made it way worse, and I don't know what to do with this information now. So here you go. Do with that what you will. Now, to wrap this up, I just have a quick word that I would like to give to the people of Netflix. Ted, Greg, Reed, if those are your real names, put Voltron back on Netflix. I don't understand why it's no longer available for streaming, but put it back on. On your end, what's the financial burden for having it available for people to watch? The show's already fully completed. What could it cost to upload? $10? From what I hear, y'all really butchered the last season. But even so, you can't possibly lose any more money on production costs. Are you still banking on continual funding from toy sales? Because if kids can't even watch the show, there's no annoying little goblins hounding their parents to buy $40 pieces of plastic with your marketing slapped all over it. What, you think the DVD sales are gonna save you? No one under the age of 20 even knows what a DVD player is. Is this because of some personal beef y'all have with DreamWorks and Paramount over rights? Do they want to put it on Paramount Plus? I wish they would, because right now, they're not doing jack shit with it either. Y'all should know by now that it's a bad idea to lose the distribution rights to shows you already produced. Just look at Daredevil. That's one of the best shows you've ever made, and is not even available to watch on Netflix anymore. Y'all fucked that up and lost the rights to the idiots over at Disney. But thank God I can watch Madam Web. Look, we all know that we can pirate it online, but I'm not going to, because I'm waiting on you to do the right thing. Also, because every time I do, somehow my credit card information gets stolen. I don't know how that keeps happening. It's not like I'm doing anything wrong. I'm just trying to engage in some friendly conversation with local community members, all right? Sue me. So to you, the good people of Netflix, put Voltron back on. Please. People actively want to give you money and appreciate the show that you put so much time and effort and love into. So let them. Or at the very least, just send me the box set. Look, like, I don't care about all those other fuckers. They're on their own. I just want to watch it myself. Also, do you have Steven Yeun's phone number? I need to talk to him about some things. Mostly about his time on The Big Bang Theory. Like, was that elevator shaft fully functional for the entire filming process? Or were they just faking that for a fun plot point? I need to know. I've also just been going around reading other fan fictions that I'm able to find. There's a lot of them, truly. Most of them are pretty good, I gotta admit. I like them a lot. What I'm suddenly acting like I don't like fan fiction. I love fan fiction, all right. Ride or die. Fun little fact for you. Reading Dirty Laundry recently was the first time I've ever been on Wattpad in my life. What a wild place that is. Personally, I was a fanfiction.net man myself, but the fic I'm reading right now is called, I think, Dear Reader. It's really fun. There's like a political coup that's being staged against the corrupt administration of a college. and also klance. If I've learned one thing in my many years of living, it's that all of your problems can be solved with a good fanfiction. Anyway, send me your best recommendations.